18th, 2022. Pardon?
April 8th.
The 8th. I apologize. I don't want time to speed up any faster than it already is going. Anyway, I'm calling to order this April 8th public meeting of the City of Prescott Preservation Commission. Members present at this meeting are James McCarver via Zoom, Michael Mirko, Mike King, Rob Johnson, and I'm Robert Burford, the chair. Our staff members present are Kat Moody, Historic Preservation Officer. Is that Tammy back there? Tammy DeWitt, Community Planner, George Worley, Planning Manager. And
the mayor just walked in. Feel good.
oh, yeah, and the mayor, Phil Good, is in attendance.
And Brent just walked in.
And Kaylee Nunez, our recording secretary, and
Bryn Stotler
And Brent.
just walked in.
oh, there she is. Thank you. And Bren Stotler, our community development director. I think I caught everyone at the moment. This is an open public hearing and is being videotaped and tape recorded by the city. The proceedings are being televised by representatives of the public media, local cable and/or radio stations, and may also be rebroadcast. The number of commission members present is 5.
Six.
So require
6 including.
6. Oh, thank you. And
Just-in-time people today.
Marianne Suttles, another member of the commission, has just entered, so the number of commission members present is 6, and it will require 4 votes for a majority on any issue. All parties wishing to speak will be expected to state their name and address for the record up here at this podium, so please remember to do that. That is so that we can know who's present and get back to them if we need to at a later time. Please turn off any of your cell phones, electronic devices, and mute yourself on, this goes for anyone on Zoom, if you're not speaking, in order to minimize background noise. I will proceed with our agenda, and the first item is the approval of the minutes from the March 13th meeting.
Chairman,
Mr. King.
before I move that we approve the minutes, I would like to compliment the Kaylee for the comprehensive notes on a very long meeting, and also compliment the people in this room who, especially yourself, Mr. Chairman, in managing the meeting. I was on the Zoom, and so I was proud to be part of this. So I am happy to say that I would like to nominate, move that we approve the minutes of our March 11th meeting.
Thank you. I have a motion.
I would like to second that.
We have a second. Those in favor of approving last month's minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Those minutes are approved. The next item of business is numbered HP 22-002. The address is 109 South Pleasant Street. Assessor's parcel number is 11001-006. It's in our Historic Preservation District, number 13, Southeast Prescott. The request is for approval of removal of a rear shed structure and construction of a garage shop accessed from the alley in that same location. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Moody for a description of the proposal.
Good morning.
Hi, Kat.
Hi. So I've pulled up a picture here on screen. Of
Summer scene.
a nice snow shot of this is the front of this house. And this is listed in the National Register. It's within the East Prescott National Register Historic District. It was also listed in the 1978 Multiple Resource Area. That was the first historic district actually formed in Prescott in 1978, as the name implies, and it was considered a multiple resource area because it was focusing on territorial architecture in Prescott. So it's all around town, and so that's why it's multiple resources. This main house is known as the Burmester Story Residence. It was constructed in 1901. It's a Victorian melange architectural style, which is a Victorian blend, is another way to put that. The rear building is not considered eligible for the National Register. I've got one more shot of the front of this house here. The rear building dates from around 1910. It was noted as an outhouse on the 1910 Sanborn map, and then it was generically labeled as a room on the later maps. And I do have some pictures of that as well, but let me first provide you with the context of the site. So those pictures that we were just looking at were taken from Pleasant Street. This is the property. This property sits just south of what is now Bosa Donuts. And the rear building that the request today is regarding is this rear structure here. And we do have a few photos of this structure provided by the applicant. So this is the structure. This is the side facing the house. This is the side facing Gurley Street. You can see there's also a temporary carport in place here adjacent to the shed. This is the side facing south. And this is the side facing the house. So I was in error there. This is the side facing the alley. So the proposal is and then this is the plan. So this is the main house. This is the rear area accessed off the alley that the request is regarding. The proposal is to demolish the shed building and then reconstruct a garage. The carport will also be removed. And so the proposal is to build a garage with access from the alley side and then a shop space adjacent. The finished materials will match the house, so a horizontal siding painted to match the main house, roof, an architectural grade shingle to match the main house. And so on the alley side, you'll have the garage door and you'll have a people door in both the side and the facade that faces the house as well. So the garage measures 34 feet by 24 feet. It's a gable style roof line. The ridge runs north-south, so it's running parallel to the alley face. Siding, trim, fascia, and roof would match the elements on the house. And we do have the applicant here to answer any questions. So with that, I will turn it over to you all for discussion and any questions.
Thank you.
The
The applicant is where?
The applicant is here.
I just have a quick question. I see windows at the peak of the roof there. Is there going to be a second story to this building for guest quarter or some sort?
No, that will be for storage.
So it's just like a loft of some
Loft,
sort?
the gables won't give you an opportunity to have any kind of living space there.
Okay.
There is a possibility, we have it listed as a shop right now. From talking to building at a later date, if we wanted to, we could turn it into a small efficiency, qualifies for that. But we would only do that for aging in place purposes, not for rent.
This is multifamily zoning in this location.
Are there other comments? Sure.
I have a question. Now, let me get this right. Is electricity to that particular right now?
No.
And it won't be until you decide to do something with the shop part?
Well, I'll bring electricity in for the garage door opener and
Okay.
things like that. And currently, our thought process is to bring the electricity down the pole underground to the house and back out to the unit.
So, and what I was trying to get to, all that will be done if you ever decide you want to use that shop
Yeah,
as an
right.
efficiency.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to do anything more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It should have electricity just based on how close it is to that pole.
We don't know whether the pole's holding up the building or the building's holding up the pole, but APS, I did call them, and they came out, and they have said that they are going to replace the pole, but it will take time for them to do that. And if you look down that street, quite a few of the poles aren't in great shape, so I hope they'll do them all.
And then you also have a gas meter back here as well. So there are a few utilities to deal with in the alley.
That was my one comment, is that there are several utilities right in that one area, and I'm not sure that I can see on the site plan, but you'll conform to setbacks, obviously.
Right.
And then to the utilities, if you need to adjust the size or the location of the utilities, then
Right.
that will be discovered during construction, or?
Yes, that meter actually is for the next door neighbor. Our meter is on the other side.
Okay.
But yes, we'd have to make whatever adjustments are necessary, but, I don't know what that'll be yet.
Yeah, that was the only comment I really had in walking the site, actually a while back, but
Okay.
are there any other? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for all you guys do.
Okay.
I have a question.
That's Jim. Go ahead.
Actually, two things. It was brief mention about setbacks. Are there any setback requirements for this new building?
Yes, there are. So they have to adhere to the standard setbacks. So off of an alley, they need 5 feet from the back of the property line. And then it's a 7-foot side yard setback in this area. So they are conforming to those.
The other question I had was, when you're tearing down a building in the historic district, are there any requirements to do any kind of archaeologic digs? That was an outhouse originally. Do they have to do anything like that to any requirements?
On a commercial property, we do require that, but in on a residential private property, we wouldn't require it.
Great, that's all I had.
Thanks, Jim. Are there other comments from the commissioners
I'm good.
or from the public? Then I would entertain a motion on this issue.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept HP 22-002, 109 South Pleasant Street, APN 110-01-006.
Thank you. A second, please?
I'll second that.
Okay, beat you. A motion to approve this item has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Moving on our agenda to the next item, it is HP 22-004. 309 East Gurley Street. The assessor's parcel number is 109-01054. It is also in our Historic Preservation District number 13, Southeast Prescott. The request is for approval for a remodel of the main house and construction of a new carriage house in the rear. And again, I will turn this over to Ms. Moody.
Thank you. This house, just around the corner, as Robert stated, is in the same district. It is the A.J. Head House, a prominent early Prescott resident, businessman, sawmill operator, and a city councilman. The building was originally erected as a one-story house. Then it was modified and detailed in its present form in 1891. It sits in between two commercial properties on Gurley Street. So this is a laundromat and at the corner of Pleasant and Gurley. And then this is the UPS store, formerly a gas station at one point. And I'll pull the plan up here. And this may be a little hard to see from across the room, but I know many of you have paper packets. The request is for a full remodel on the main house. Most of the work is taking place interior, but I'll go through the list. Removal of some interior walls, reconfiguring the interior staircase, full bathroom and kitchen remodels, new electrical, plumbing, and HVAC systems. And I think what I'll do is move, the second part of the request is for a carriage house in the rear. So this is Gurley Street in the plan. This is the main house. This is the proposed carriage house in the rear. And I'm going to switch to the floor plan as I address these interior changes. So this is the front porch. There's a reconfiguration of the staircase here in the middle. There's a removal of some interior walls to allow for that staircase reconfiguration, and the bathroom remodels and the kitchen remodel at the rear. The exterior changes being proposed, I'm going to go to this view. So this is the front of the house. And so the changes here, let me make sure I've got the right. That's the back. That's the back, okay. So we're one page further down here. No, one page further up. Pardon my, okay, so this is west, southwest. This is what I'm looking for, the north elevation.
Oh, interior.
I think we probably are on the bottom here. Yes, there we go. Sorry about that. The exterior changes that are visible from the street would be replacing the original the front stair railing and the second floor porch railing. Both of those are non-original railings. They had been replaced at some point in the past. Those railings that are in place now are just a simple black metal steel railing. Those replacements were approved by this commission. The original railing on the first floor will have a treatment, and I will show that to you in a moment once we go through the overall picture of what the changes are. New windows and doors and existing openings to match the original style of the windows, so no change to the window openings. There are 2 new doors being proposed on the west side of the house. So at the rear here and at the front here, providing access into these rooms on the west side of the house. The 2 new doors will have small brow roofs protecting those doors. They're going to reinforce and reconstruct where needed the native stone foundation walls with matching stone. There is quite a bit of foundation work that has to happen on this building that hasn't been done. That was deferred maintenance under the previous owners. And then in the rear, the proposal, there is an addition being proposed in the rear of the building that would it would be a 2-story addition in the rear here that would expand the kitchen area and then also provide additional square footage on the 2nd story as well. And that addition can be seen here. So this is the addition being proposed in the rear of the building. And then behind the main house, a carriage house with matching gambrel-style roof is being proposed. So siding and trim elements would match the main house for this carriage style house. So the analysis from the master plan is encouraging porches consistent with the historic style, encouraging post and column treatment and other details. And I'll get to the porch railings in just a moment. Discourage garages as part of the main structure, but behind the main house are acceptable. And retain stone wall details, encourage scale consistent with architectural, the existing house and also the architectural style of the historic registered house. And then additions to existing buildings should be on the rear. So this proposal generally adheres to all of those requirements. And I've got a rendering for the front porch railings. The historic railing on the first floor front porch is original to the house, and it's pretty decorative wood carved railing, but it doesn't meet current building code. So the proposal is to, and I think I have a close-up of this. The proposal is to take that decorative wood railing and then place a wood horizontal cross member over that historic railing and then provide some kind of baluster detail behind that isn't obscuring to the historic railing, but brings it up to code. And then for the second floor railing and the railing in the rear, this is one of the, a turned baluster wood railing detail that's more appropriate to this style of home than the steel railings, which are currently on those balconies. And we do have both the property owner and the architect here to answer any questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you all.
Thank you. Commission members have comments first? Would you assume you're the owner?
Yeah, there's a lot rolled into this request.
I have a couple of peremptory questions. Sorry, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rob Seals, my wife Chrissy, and then Wolfgang Kleen is our architect.
Thank you. And the proposed use of each of these buildings?
It's technically our home. So we have the master bedroom. We're just trying to make it a master bedroom. There's not bathrooms up there. There's one in the halfway up on the stairwell. So the extension is so we can actually put a bathroom upstairs. We want to make, it's a 4-bedroom. We just kind of want to make it a 3-bedroom suite with each of the bedrooms having their own access with a bathroom.
And over the garage,
It's going to be a loft, like a storage loft.
Okay, storage.
So it's just technically going to be a rudimentary, loft, I guess, flooring, just to throw stuff up there, storage and stuff. And not much storage in these houses, so.
Yeah. And I'm curious about the plot plan of that extra little piece that's will have the carriage house.
We've gone through a lot with this
First off,
property.
that's connected. This is all one parcel now, or?
Yes, it is all one parcel now. So did not used to be. The road was split between me and the owner, so of the laundromat. So we've now procured that. So it's all one piece now. It's all part of 309 Gurley now. So and that's already been posted to Yavapai, I believe.
Just to add a little backstory to that, it was probably the reason this house was on the market for so long, and it really took someone who was willing to jump through the hoops and work with the owner of the laundromat next door, because the driveway was half and half owned by the two properties. It was a very difficult situation to deal with, and I appreciate that you all persevered and are willing to, do the work that needs to happen to bring this house back to life.
So there is access from the alley
Correct, yes.
and access from Gurley.
Correct. Yeah, it used to be shared, so nobody could park on it, nobody could block it or anything like that. So I couldn't even park my cars on it, so he wouldn't let us, so.
Okay.
So we did that, we procured it, we put it into one parcel, so it's not it was 3 different parcels with the driveway. Where the carriage house burnt down sometime in the early 1900s, and we can't find a reproduction of that or anything of that nature, so we kind of just matched the house. So it'd be the gambrel style roofs with the same, look and same siding, same, we'll make it the exact same, so it looks very similar.
That building, I've looked at it over the years thinking, boy, that's a challenge.
The first of all is the foundation, so that's the next permit that's coming through. That's why we have to start with that, and then we can go up above it. So.
And that's a stone foundation, right? Correct?
It is stone on dirt, yes. So everything's moved a little bit on that. It was built in 1870, so the second floor was added in 1895, I think, and so it's been a little bit of a challenge just to. Once you're in it, we've been in it since July, August, so it's you don't notice the 6 or 8 inches crooked floors after time. So we're just going to reinforce the foundation with push piers and stuff that you can't see that are down to the bedrock, so it doesn't shift anymore. It's all falling towards the kind of UPS store and the walls, so we have to do some dirt work to get the wall back. We're trying to, and we'll maintain we love the red brick and the Prescott, stuff, where they say they can still find that brick and stuff if we need to redo it. So we're just trying to kind of make that as well. So we'll try to put a fence up between the house and the laundromat to match the next door neighbor's fence, but, you know, that's so we can not have to see the parking lot, but that's about it, so.
Do you have any other comments on your project or descriptions of the materials or that kind of thing to
We're
pass on
trying,
to the
we're
commission?
trying to use, again, the materials we're using are, so they're up in Ash Fork area, they do make that brick, so we're gonna use the stone, the actual stones, big red stones, and that's what we're trying to look for as far as if we have to replace any of the walls. In the back, there's some landscape structures that are just, you know, railroad ties, so we're gonna hopefully turn those into the walls or something like that, so, with stone. There is 3 parking spots right there in the back, as you can see on the alley. There are actually 3 parking spots right there, or the width of that, so it's just the separation. There is I'm looking at it, it's sort of the far back corner on the alley. There's actually a well house there, and that's gonna remain as well. We just have to reinforce it a little bit, so.
That's on this west side, the southwest corner here.
And it's an original well house, so.
And if you'll allow me, members, you can have one more question. I noticed in going to the UPS store and coming down Marina, is that, not Marina?
A Larkin,
Larkin, thank you.
yes.
That there was some work being done in the alley. Was that on your property or on the adjacent property? Or?
The mansion, right there, the large one right on the left of, well, from what I can see, is from on the left there, right on a Larkin there. So the mansion, he has, I think, 9 residences in there, and they redid all the plumbing to the street. They redid the back parking area, because when people would park in his parking areas back there, it would kind of block the alley with like a truck or something like that. So he actually redid the entire landscape structure. They redid all the plumbing to the house, all the way to the original pipelines and stuff. So he put all in brand new parking and everything back there in the alley. That's what he was doing, so.
Thank you for all of that information. There you go.
Well, you're going to access the garage from...
Can you use the microphone just?
You're going to access the garage from what angle?
So the garage is that little tiny square right there.
Yeah.
And you can come in right from the alley from a Larkin. It would be probably a hard turn unless I'm gonna like pull in and back in, you know, kind of one of those 2-point turns or something like that.
So you are coming off the alley into the garage?
We usually use the front towards Gurley. I eventually,
So are you going to have multiple doors?
no, do you mean, it's just gonna have the garage door right there on the front of our driveway, just on our driveway.
Okay, so you're coming in off Gurley?
Yes.
Okay.
So technically, you could come in from the alley as well, but it's going to be a better shot from the alley, actually, so,
The door is on this side here?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's right on the driveway. The door will come onto our driveway, so.
And you'll access your garage from both directions.
You probably could, it'd be hard to park in there.
Yeah, okay.
Coming up the driveway that way, I would still have to
It's a
go in
tight
and back
turn.
up.
Yeah.
Just a sharp angle.
Marianne.
Excuse me. You are the only residential on that commercial?
It's
front?
actually zoned commercial.
So your property is commercial?
It is zone commercial, but it's a residence for us. Well, I'm retired military, so that's kind of like our retirement home.
Okay.
It is business general
is business
zoning,
general.
and residential use is allowed in business general.
Or anything else?
Yeah. And certainly, they did do some exploration. They came to several PAC meetings to explore splitting the use of the remodeled house between commercial and residential uses, and in the end, the requirements drove you to elect to just do a residential use.
Right. Well, that's what kind of, it was just, you know, I don't want to put sprinkler systems in the house and things of that nature, you know, those parking spaces, you know, limited, you know, handicap access, and current code is just a little harder with this house of this age, so.
But at some time, whether it be 10 years, 20 years, it's still zone commercial. It could be commercial.
Sure, I mean, if someone wanted to use it for commercial. you
Okay,
know,
thank
I'm
you.
sure, I don't think you changed the zoning, right? So it'll always be business general, so.
Okay.
Well, I don't envy you.
Sorry.
It's not an easy project.
Compliment you if that's okay.
Well,
Quite a
I've
time.
restored homes myself, and this is huge.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
So if I could just add, really the only thing we're looking at is the outside. All that change in interior walls and such has nothing to do.
It does not impact the historic status.
Right.
They can completely remodel the interior. So the changes that are visible from the exterior are, the changes to the front railings, the addition of the 2 doors on the west side, which because of the vegetation and how close they are to the property line here, it's really limited the visibility for those 2 door changes. The addition on the rear, and then the carriage house in the rear.
Super, thank you.
And I have one more question on the 2 railings in the front at the first floor and second. The first, as I understand it, you're going to maintain what's there and then put in a code-compliant railing behind it.
Somewhat. We're going to need new spindles because technically it's so it's 28 inches high, I believe, right now, or something like that, real close to 30. And then, so it has to be, 36 inches high?
Correct.
So we're going to try to maintain it, and they put, I think it was in 2002 or 76, they approved the railing for the, and it's just a metal bar railing. So we want to kind of see if we can match those 2 and then put railing up the stairs as well to make it match the same same condition of the yearing, the years and stuff.
Right, I think that's totally appropriate, and
I think it'll look a lot better as
Yeah.
well. Because now now that we're looking at it and we're trying to get all these approvals, it's like, why did they put the metal railing in? Because they probably had to do too much to fix the one that was on the upper deck there. They just probably had to do too much to fix it, so they didn't want to spend the cost.
well, they had the roof involved and, yeah,
Right.
so, okay, thank you. Do I have a motion from the commission?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we approve HP 22-004 for the approval of the remodel of the home in the new carriage house at 309 East Gurley.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second motion is seconded for approval for HP 22-004. Those in favor of approval, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And again, I think we all wish you the best of luck on that. And thank you for taking an historic structure and refurbishing it for the city as well. Moving to the next item of business, says HP 22-006, 119 West Goodwin Street, parcel number 109-02072, Historic Preservation District Number 1, the Courthouse Plaza. There is a request for approval for temporary decorative fencing, wall, and signage, a rather unique proposal here. I will pass this back to Ms. Moody for a description.
Thank you. As the chairman stated, yes, this is a unique proposal. It's rare that we see temporary installation requests, but that is what this is. So this is the site of the old Plaza Stables, and it was later a gas station. It's been vacant for several years. This commission years ago actually approved a 3-story building for this site, which had something similar to McCormick Place building with parking underneath, retail along the along the street front with parking, like a sort of half-recessed parking garage underneath, and then professional and condo spaces on the second and third floors. So that proposal went through several rounds of approvals and did eventually get a approval, but it was never executed. So the site has been sitting vacant, but most recently it's been used by Tour Prescott to advertise their tours and then serve as a gathering space for those tour programs. It also has housed recently a group of food trucks that have provided food truck service for events and just in general during the week sometimes. The proposal is, and some of this, you'll notice the fence, you probably did notice, even on your way here. The fence has been erected. This is a temporary fence that's being proposed. This is the diorama. So these are barrels, weighted barrels, and then these are wood rails. The full proposal includes the fence that has been placed at the back of sidewalk. It also includes a pine pole sort of gateway signage on both this corner and the corner adjacent to the chamber building. Matching barrel and pole lighting elements in the middle. And then more of a solid wood wall as a backdrop here on the east and south sides. Some simple shade structures associated with that wall, and then a 10 by 10 stage in front of the backdrop. And there's a few, this is the sketch of the diorama showing the fence, the entry gates, the walls behind, and the stage. And this is the proposed wall detail with the stage. And then this is the proposed signage. That's the wall. And then this is the signage being proposed at the entry gates. These elements don't necessarily conform to the guidelines for the Courthouse Plaza Historic District. However, it is a temporary installation. If it was a permanent installation, it certainly would not comply with the design guidelines. The property owner has given permission to Tour Prescott to make these improvements as long as they are temporary and reversible, because they may elect to come back either with the already approved design from years ago, or they may propose a new structure on this site. The idea with this space is it will provide space definition and some amenities for when there are events held in this space. And we do have the applicant here to answer any additional questions regarding this item. So I'll turn it over to you all.
Great, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Doug Reed with Tour Prescott. Thanks for having me.
I have a question for,
Yes.
Well,
Go ahead,
I'd
Marianne.
say, this is only good for 1 year.
That's the staff, that's my recommendation. Because I think one of the things that will happen is if we say it's temporary, and we've seen this in the past when we've approved temporary items, sometimes 8, 9 years down the road, they're still there. Mm-hmm. So putting a time frame on it is advisable. So the recommendation I wrote is to approve for a 1-year period, and that just makes it so if they want to keep it in place, they have to come back to the commission.
Yep.
And does that 1 year start when the construction starts? When does the 1 year
Just to
start?
be real simple, we have a lease through the end of the year.
Okay.
So it'll be through 2022. Our hopes would be we would be here for the 23 season, but they do want to build a hotel there eventually, and we knew that when we started.
Okay. Just needed that established up front.
And if I can, just to rewind a little bit, this came up because the chief of police and the president of the chamber were having a kind of back and forth about the transient activity along that alleyway, along the back parts of this parcel. And without having some lights and some perimeter fencing, it really is hard to keep people off a 12,000 square foot piece of property downtown. So we really want to enhance what it looks like, and we're paying tribute to the old Ruffner Plaza stables with our name and the design theme along the fence.
Just one question. Does Tour of Prescott control the activities within that area?
100%.
So for bands?
Yeah, so this will be an event space.
Okay.
It kind of always has been. The city of Prescott, the chamber, Prescott Downtown Partnership, they hold events on this space, you know. So all we're doing is defining the space and making it more official, if you will.
I have a question about the fence.
Yes, sir?
Are these like 55-gallon drums?
Yeah, this is all temporary, above ground,
I
55-gallon weighted drums, just in the front line. And then the back line is a normal 6-foot picket style, panel style fencing.
So the interior lighting area,
Yes, sir.
is the post going to go through the barrels? Or
Yes,
is it-
those will be in the ground. Any posts that are sticking up above 6 feet or so will be into the ground in concrete for code.
But then these barrels are right next door to it. Is
Those are
that
more-
like a table of some sort?
Yeah, it's just to keep the theme. It's going to be probably like a stand-up table style barrel. Give it a little structure, if you will. And they're all temporary. I mean, everything moves. It's just kind of sitting there. Other than the fencing, obviously.
The rear fencing.
The rear fencing, yep. And you'll have to forgive that diorama. That's a little fantastical. We did some landscaping stuff that's not going to be there. This is way before we knew we had to pitch you guys. So the stuff I drew is more what we're looking at, just a 6-foot fence line that runs 60 feet along the east wall, 30 feet along the south wall, a 10 by 10 stage wall, which is really the 6-foot fence and stuff didn't really need permitting when we went through the code, but it was really more of you guys accepting the overall concept. And then that's a 10 by 10 wall back there, which will be a replica of what the front of the Ruffner Plaza stables look like. So the backdrop of the stage will be what the front of the Plaza stables look like, if you will. Just
A
to pay
couple of
tribute.
questions.
Sure.
Owner is 119 Goodwin LLC. Is that you?
No, that's Ponderosa Hotel Group. They own the Marriotts in town. Christensen's.
Who owns that corner
They own the corner.
on the land, and you lease from them?
Yes, if I owned it, I'd probably be submitting to do a real structure.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
I have another question. I recall years back, the property was contaminated?
Well,
Contaminated?
it was a gas station, so it's been mitigated. The tanks had some leakage, and so it still gets monitored. It's part of, the program of, there's several old gas station sites downtown, and you'll occasionally see that big truck parked right on the corner of the plaza, and they're monitoring that plume that came
The
from.
tanks are still in the ground?
I don't believe that the tanks at this site are still in the ground.
I watched that whole thing be when I first got here. Yeah, they pulled all that out. They took the soil away. They sent it to Phoenix. They cleaned it up, brought some of it back. So that's under the LUST program, liquid underground storage tanks. So it's fully compliant and being monitored.
I think before the sale to the new owners who own it, they had to take care of some of those issues first.
Yeah, there was a plume that was tracked that kind of, it seeped underground from this site over towards this corner of the plaza, which is why when they come to sample, they do it on this corner of the plaza, because that was sort of the north end of the plume.
Right. And a question on logistics, I guess. What makes this, what makes it temporary?
That's the question I was going to ask.
I mean, where does
It's-
that whole determination?
I can explain that. So it was recommended to me to submit a temporary use permit for the space since it's seasonal. You know, we plan to be there through the end of this year, and we don't have a lease for next year yet. So at the end of this season, most likely we're tearing down that fencing, and we'll give it back to the property owners for them to do whatever development they want to do.
And so the temporary, can't remind me of some a like situation, and then maybe the new food. I don't know. I'm asking questions that aren't pertinent.
I'm going to let George answer that because planning deals with temporary use permits.
Okay. Thanks, George.
No problem. We do temporary use permits for uses that generally don't include a permanent building. So most of them are very short term. Christmas tree sales, for instance, are temporary uses. Farmers markets are temporary uses. They don't generally involve any permanent change to the site. So our temporary use permit's good for 6 months, but it's renewable continuously as long as the use doesn't change. And in this particular case, because the use is outside, it doesn't involve anything other than peripheral structures, the fencing, we would issue a temporary use permit under zoning to allow the use to be there. And we have a list of those types of uses in our zoning code that say, this is a temporary use and you get it for this amount of time.
Thank you.
Because of the temporary use permit, Kat's recommendation for a time frame in your action makes perfect sense. They will match up just perfectly.
Gotcha. Thanks for that clarification. Are there other questions?
I do have
Go
a
right ahead.
couple of comments, I guess. One, this piece of property is pretty a focal point in the downtown area.
Absolutely.
It always has been and never been used, and I've been here almost 30 years, so it's always been an empty lot. Anyway, I'm not crazy about the drums, the barrels, fencing. Is there a significance there? We're talking about stables, or, I mean, are those drums?
We're trying to replicate the old blacksmith drums that they used, and yeah, it was a stable garage in 1898, and it was the most significant, beautiful structure in Prescott downtown area at the time. So we just want to elevate the area, pay tribute to what used to be there, beautify it a little bit,
So
keep people off
these
it.
barrels are instrumental in history?
No.
They're temporary.
So we're going with the Western look. Western look with the barrel fencing.
And I'll follow up just a second. Maybe you've already stated this. These are steel barrels, or are they wooden, like wine barrels?
It's a 55-gallon drum, and they're actually, some are steel, some are plastic.
So it's steel and plastic, okay.
Yep.
So there's no consistency? There's going to be,
Just a cost issue.
but are they going to look alike?
Yeah, well,
They're all-
some are metal, some are plastic, but you can't tell.
They're all,
They're right
black.
now they're a mix of metal and plastic that we have down there, but they're all very similar size and shape.
They exist along the Goodwin Street. You can look at them right now and see them.
Yeah, we have the temporary fence up, and that all falls within fence code and everything. We were just trying to not dig into the ground and create new posts every 6 feet, 8 feet, along the entire property line for a temporary project. So if the chamber is going to hold an off-street festival, I can move my fencing for that day. Whiskey Row Off-Road is going to be here. They're going to use the lot for a few days. We're going to need to remove some stuff. So everything's movable within one day. That's really the idea behind it. Otherwise, I would have put a normal.
Yeah.
I went through a lot of effort to create something that was movable and temporary, but still looked Western and rustic.
Yeah.
And my assumption is they'll all be painted to look alike, right?
Yeah, black. Black and wood is our color theme for just kind of natural and.
Other comments from,
I have a couple questions.
that's Jim McCarver.
yeah, Jim,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So
Jim.
the ground is going to be just packed dirt the way it is now?
DG is currently the ground cover.
Decomposed
What does that
granite.
mean?
It's got decomposed granite
Okay.
throughout the.
So it's not, when it rains and stuff, it's not going to be like a mud bog?
This property's been graded and everything's already been kind of leveled out and taken care of for those issues. in the past.
Are you planning on having food booths in that area?
Historically, yes, we've had food booths, but we're getting away from the food concept, the open food lot concept that we've had for the last few years. And we're going with more of a private event venue. So you can host a wedding there or a corporate event or a food truck day if you'd like. Potentially, we'll have a food truck vendor on particular weekdays, depending on our schedule, but it's kind of open.
Where are you going to put the food truck?
So typically, food trucks park along the along Goodwin Street facing the courthouse, or along Whiskey Row facing Whiskey Row. Traditionally, along the fence line.
Yeah, but you're gonna move the food. You'll make the food booths, just drive them onto the property.
Yeah, we're getting away from a food truck concept, which we had in 2019, 2020, and 2021, and we're going with just a private event space. We may have a food truck occasionally, and if we do, it would be along the streets, along the fence line.
So you'd have food basically catered in.
We're getting away from a food. We're not really proposing a food event here. This is going to be a private event space for any type of event that would be, whether that be a food truck roundup or a wedding. So we don't have a proposal of where food would be or what it would be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It's been described very clearly. Thank you.
Did you have a question, Marianne?
My question was, what was that ground going to be that Jim asked?
Okay.
Covered.
I will probably bring in some new DG because over time, things wash away. It was recommended that we put a 4-inch rock line around the perimeter of the sidewalk. I did not put that in the site plans because I kind of heard that information after. So that could be something we do when we bring in some DG, is just to prevent some runoff from the street. We're doing all the maintenance on the site too, so we always kind of have snow removal and weed maintenance we're working on right now and stuff.
Yeah.
So. We just want to make the lot look nice while we're there. That's why we chose to renew the lease, and this was kind of our concept, to pay tribute to the history and to make it something nice and appealing, to bring it up to what Prescott should be. I hate the fact that people refer to it as a dirt lot, so.
Which brings me back to Kat. Is there any oversight on or amount of signage specifically, not how it's presented, but?
So they just have to adhere to the sign code. So it's just whatever the sign code is for.
Length of frontage along the street.
Exactly, yeah. So you're proposing 2 signs, right?
Yeah, 2 wooden signs. They would be on posts, and they would just have the name of the property. We've historically had big banners up with so we're going away from all that. We want to really make it kind of have a nice, more permanent feel, even though it's
that's
temporary.
Just what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Permanent impermanence.
Exactly. So.
Okay.
And that is why in the staff recommended action, we have that 1-year time frame, just so that this commission will be revisiting it if it's going to go beyond 12 months.
Kat, do you have any other comments on the presentation here, other than what you stated?
No, I don't. Yeah, I think everything's been said here.
Thank you. Then I would entertain a motion on this project.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept HP 22-006, 119 West Goodwin Street, APN 109-02-072.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second, please.
Mike, seconded. It's been, motion has been made and seconded to approve HP 22006. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Good luck with your project.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Soon, I understand.
Yeah, I got to get busy.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is HP 22-007, 1099 Old Hacienda Lane. APN, the parcel number again is 108-07166. It's in our Historic Preservation District number 15, the historic homes at Hacienda. The request is for approval for a garden shed in the rear of the property, and everyone, I'm sure, remembers last month we had this come before us for some other items. But this one is specifically for the garden shed at the rear of the property. I would turn this over to Ms. Moody again.
Thank you. So this property sits at on Old Hacienda Lane. It's the frontage for this house. It does have Old Deodora Lane does come down into the historic homes at Hacienda on one side of the property. And I do have some photos to show you as well, but first we'll review the request. So this is a shot of the front of the house. The proposal, so this is the front of the house in this image on the left side. So this is Old Hacienda Lane. This is Deodora. So that picture I just showed you is taken from Old Hacienda looking up at the house. This site slopes pretty significantly up the hill. The proposed shed is outlined in red here at the top of the hill. And we'll take a look at the shed. These are the shed specifications provided by the applicant. It's a tough shed that's 10 by 12. It includes a 4-foot wide door with black hardware, wainscot trim, and a vertical transom window here in the door. 2-foot by 2-foot horizontal sliding window in the side, and then a vent above the door. The walls are finished in vertical siding, which is a cementitious wood product. And the shed will be painted to match the main house. I did find a photo of a somewhat similar shed online, just so that you could see a little better what, this one doesn't have the vertical transom window, but it's fairly similar with the single door in the front. Obviously, this one is not painted to match the house, so it's really just an image to show you what one of these sheds looks like. And they did, in your packet, I provided you with the spec sheet that covers all those items. I just talked about, these are shots of other sheds in the same, encircled locations of other sheds in and outbuildings in this district. So these were just provided for context for other shed type buildings. And then I've got a couple of photos to show what the site looks like. So this image is at the rear of the main house, looking back up into the rear yard. And then I walked up Old Deodora Lane, and this is the location where the shed is being proposed up at the top of the lot. You can see there's sort of a terracing that has been used because there is quite a slope on this site. So this is from the top looking back towards the rear of the house. And that is the site where the shed will be, up at the top. This is looking back down towards the front of the house. This is the single car garage. This is the double car garage. And then this is the view up the opposite property line from the front of the house. Just a few shots for context. So I walked up, took those photos, walked down, and then took the last photo looking along this side of the property. And we do have the property owner here to answer any questions. And with that, I'll turn it over to you all.
Thank you. Is this a site-built building?
No. It's not. So it's a tough shed. So
Okay, that's fine.
do you,
Would the owner
yep.
like to tell us a little bit more about this? Thank you.
Yes, good morning, Larry Greenhill, the owner. Yeah, we have a plan to purchase a tough shed, 10 by 12, that's standard dimensions, as you saw. I understand they come to the site and assemble it. It comes as a package, and they just put it up on the site.
Kind of panelized.
Something like that. I haven't really looked that deep at, but it's nothing I'm going to assemble. It comes as part of the purchase price, assembled, so.
Okay, and as I understand it, maybe George Worley would address this for the city for permitting. It just needs to be permitted for the site location, not for construction.
Right, we have what's called a site plan approval for smaller buildings, anything less than 200 square feet. It's primarily to make sure that it meets our setback requirements. And the
Great.
proposed location does meet our setback requirements.
Thank you. And just one other question, maybe for the owner, thank you, George, we have approved some new fencing around this parcel. Is any of that fencing we saw in Kat's slides part slated for new fencing, or what were we looking at there? Yeah, refresh my memory, please.
Yeah, so this shed will sit inside the area that was approved last month for the fencing. So the fencing will go around the perimeter of the property, and this is inside of that area.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And you can see that, and probably the sequencing you're looking for here is to get the shed in place before the fencing. We have a permit in for the shed, pending, this commission's review. And then they will need to actually submit for a permit to do the fencing that you all approved last month.
Is there a reason you're positioning that shed in that far corner?
Get it out of the garden. You see where the existing split rail fence is there on the left side of the picture? That area down there is all for the garden area, so just putting it up behind the garden area. Close to it, but out of the way.
So this is garden on the left side of this split rail? And
yes.
then the shed will be up here?
Yes.
Are there other questions or comments?
Yeah, maybe to Kat. So what's the rule is no more than,
There's no more than 3 accessory structures, so this is it for this property.
okay.
They can't put in a gazebo, they can't put in a shade structure, this is it. And I made that perfectly clear to the applicant when they came back with the shed request, that this was the last accessory structure that could be placed on this site.
Okay.
Just to tag on to that, there's no requirements as far as size. Three accessory buildings, but you don't limit the size.
There is actually a limitation of size. Is it no more than 50%? The accessory buildings, all combined together, can equal no more than 50% of the square footage of the main house.
And that complies with what they want to do?
That will be, yes, it does. George is shaking his head.
Based on the 120 square feet,
That it does comply. So there would have been, if they would be proposing a much larger shed, it might have hit up against that 50% rule. And so then they would have heard from planning that they didn't meet that requirement.
Okay, and we're reviewing this.
Just for the garden shed.
Yeah. Thank you. Are there other questions, comments?
I'm good.
Are there any from the public here? Then I would entertain a proposal, I would entertain a motion on this proposal.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we approve HP 22-007, which is the request for approval of the garden shed at 1099 Old House Hamp Lane.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve HP
second that.
2207. It's been made and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Well, the next item of business is an update on current events, and I, for one, would like a slight update, if I could, on the food truck court at Willis and Montezuma.
Okay. It's an issued permit, and so my recollection is there's 5 or 6. Do you remember? There's a cluster of 5 or 6 food truck pads
Okay.
that have, plumbing, electrical, and designed to basically be able to operate that as a food truck court without having to have generators running. And the property owner owns a food truck, so they would be the anchor food truck on that site, and then they would fill the other spaces with other food trucks. So it's intended to be an outdoor food court.
And is it a temporary use permit or,
No, it's not. That's a building permit.
okay,
Yeah. And it wouldn't come before this commission
Yeah.
because it's outside of any of our local historic districts. We have seen several other proposals for buildings on that corner lot. One of the difficulties in redeveloping it is the FEMA floodplain regulations. I know at one point we reviewed like a drugstore proposal, and they had to have the finished floor of the building so high that it wasn't a good location for them. So I think the property as a food truck court, it works for them because they don't have any permanent structures that would be impeding the flow of floodwater.
sounds like a good fit. Thank you. Just for information, are there other, yes? Rob?
Yeah, Kat, have you received any feedback at all from the gentleman that pitched the hotel on
No,
Zuma?
I have not heard anything from him. So I encourage people to still watch the agendas on the website. If he brings something back, then we'll review it at that time. I don't know whether it will come back immediately to a voting session or it would come back for another study session. At this point, until we see a resubmission, we won't know. And that could be next month, and it could be a year from now or 5 years from now. I mean, we don't know. So.
Kat, do you have any announcements to make?
I do have one announcement. We did apply for Heritage Fund grants for our Historic Preservation Master Plan update project, something that's long been needed to happen and has been proposed in previous budgets but never made it through the budget process. I applied for Heritage Fund grants, and we didn't get a Heritage Fund grant, but State Historic Preservation Office recommended us to receive a CLG grant. Prescott is a certified local government, and it makes us eligible for CLG grants. That's CLG is certified local government. And there was a grant recipient who couldn't take the money. Their project fell through, and so there was actually some money immediately available to work on that project. And then there's 2 more cycles of CLG grants, and between those 3 phases, we should be able to get the Historic Preservation Master Plan updated over the course of the next year or so. That plan, once we have a rough draft, will come to this commission for substantial input, and then there'll be several revisions and also public meetings, public input in order to have that plan reflect, current standards, Also to include the 5 districts that were not part of that plan that have been formed since that time. So that will be an important resource for you all, because the analysis and guidelines that I reference in the staff reports come immediately from that plan. So that's about to kick off.
Great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other comments?
No, sir.
With that, I would adjourn this April 8th public hearing of the Prescott Preservation Commission. Thank you, one and all.